Welcome back to Late Night at the Movies on the Late Night Chat Network, everyone. Episode 36, and we're back. Oh, what a lovely fucking day, everybody. Here we are once again, and we've resurrected Late Night at the Movies here, episode 36. And if you caught the reference or you've seen the little thing scrolling across your screen already here, we are going to be doing Mad Max Fury Road here today in honor of the newer release, I guess, Furiosa Mad Max Saga movie that came out a couple weeks ago. And it's been a year since we've done this show, and we've resurrected it and revamped it, everybody. So basically, it used to be me and Jay primarily that did Late Night at the Movies, which is our movie review show here on the Late Night Chat Network. If this is your first time checking out this show, guys, because I know we've had a slew of new subscribers as of recently, make sure you like and subscribe. But me and JT here, we used to do this show as the primary two people that would just trade off picks of movies to go back and rewatch and talk about, do a deep dive discussion on it, go over a bunch of subjects that we basically just ripped off of the Rewatchables podcast. and we did that for 3 years. So with episode 0, that was 36 episodes. We did it for a good 3 years until last year around this time. We stopped doing it because we started doing a show called Watching the Throne. So quick plug for that show as well, which is our deep dive kind of revisit to Game of Thrones, JT having watched it for the first time. And we're going to be also doing House of the Dragon reviews week to week with the new season coming out. By the time this airs, guys, make sure to check out the feed this week for the newest episode of Watching the Throne for House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 1. Make sure to check that out. But here we are. We figured we'd bring it back. And there's some changes here. First off, let's introduce all the co-hosts here today. This is our core 4 co-hosts that are going to be on this show for Late Night at the Movies. We made it more of like a kind of like a movie club per se, where we all come together and we all kind of do different, we all pick different movies. It is a bi-weekly show instead of a monthly show now. And, sometimes one of us may not be here depending on schedules. And they're going to be shorter episodes as well. We're not going to go as in depth. But of course, it's me and JT again returning. What's going on, Jay?
Hey, what's going on, man? I'm here. I'm just listening to those beautiful promos and the way how you brought this movie right back, brought the show right back to life.
I had to ramble on for 2 minutes to bring it back here. And of course, we got Julie in the house, Julie Mack.
What up?
And great name to be doing this movie there, Mad Max over there. We got Max returning here, fresh off of his most recent episode of Late Night Chat, where he pissed off a bunch of people with his hip-hop takes. Everybody, here we go.
Oh, yeah, I heard about this.
Oh, yeah. Lay it on me. Why don't you? Right. You couldn't wait to shift the blame on me.
We pissed off a bunch of people with our hip-hop takes. Okay, I take it back.
Thank you.
For all you guys hitting us up.
J. Cole is your favorite rapper, eh?
I'm ducking out the beef. We just got told we can't go to Compton, so I'm like, I'm out, bro. I'm out this beef. I can't be involved in this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But for all you guys,
oh man,
for all you guys hitting us up in the comments, we thank you.
It was such a destination for me.
Good or bad comments, we love them all. Thank you for tuning in, guys. So make sure to check out our late night mixtapes if you want to hear some hip hop. But yes, we are back, and as I mentioned, we're changing up the way we're going to do this show. So before, we used to have guests on, and it was me and Jay with a guest sometimes. Both of you guys have been on the show before, Late Night at the Movies in the past. We've done movies together. And I would say those were kind of more like deep dive, kind of 2.5 to 3 hour conversations that we'd have on that show.
Oh, yeah.
We talk about the whole, all of the things of the movie, a bunch of categories, talk about all our favorite scenes, favorite quotes. So this is going to be a little bit more, I think, of a loose approach. We kind of wanted to bring it to like a roundtable discussion type of thing where, we just casually talk about the movie as if we just came out of the movies and haven't watched this, right? And in preparation for today's show, I've made the first pick. And we're going to be doing this show bi-weekly, so it's going to be every 2 weeks. And after me, it's Julie next. So stay tuned to the end of the show where we will announce, unbeknownst to the rest of us as well, unless you guys know. I don't know what the next pick's going to be. So that'll be fun. We're going to keep it a secret for the viewers and for us as well. And then that way, you know, that'll be the next thing that we'll go to watch. And sometimes we'll all be on the show. Sometimes there'll only be, you know, 2 or 3 of us on the show. Sometimes we'll have guests. That's the approach we're going to take to this one. And they're going to be shorter episodes. We're only going to try to go an hour and a half at most, guys. So, yeah, not live anymore. So we made some changes to the formatting of this, but we had to stick with the name here, Late Night at the Movies, of course.
Not live seems to work nice, when you want to piss off people.
But let's.
I'm watching.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Nico, when you read those comments, did you put the chains on the door?
What do you mean? Oh, because of that. Yeah, I got real scared. So
Oh my god.
It's the internet, bro. You don't know if it's troll or if it's serious. If they're standing on business over there.
Yeah, you never know. Those people are probably from Toronto too.
So listen, never be too sure. All right. So speaking of comments, why don't we get let's get your guys' comments here. Let's start with Jay. Let's let us know if you've seen the movie before, and if you have, kind of like what your experience is with this one. Jay, did you see that? Have you seen this movie before today? Like before discussing it?
We're supposed to watch it before today. No. I mean, I know I've never watched this movie, this specific one. I'm pretty sure I've watched the original Mad Max sometime in my life, but I was probably a young man, and it probably, didn't. What's the word I'm looking for?
Resonate.
Entice you as much. No, even entice me. Like, I mean, you would think the cars and the vehicles and stuff would entice you as a kid, but even that, there's no bald Charlize Theron. So that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, Furiosa. All right, how about you, Julie? You watched this before?
No, I had never seen it, and I never watched the originals either. I didn't watch them leading up to this.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
You didn't either?
No, I got nervous. I was like, should I watch it? No, I'm going to remember all the old stuff. And then, but really, they don't even have anything to do with each other when I looked it up.
I watched the trailers for the first 2, and I am fucking not interested.
So I'm going to comment on that later, guys. So I kind of, to kind of help prepare for the assignment, because I own these, I ended up watching all 3 movies. And yesterday I went to the theater to watch Furiosa. And then I watched, since it is the prelude to this movie, and then I watched Fury Road actually today after work. So I got prepped right under the wire here. I've watched all 5 movies. And at the end of the episode, I will be doing a power ranking on the Mad Max films, guys, from least favorite to favorite.
What the people are waiting for. Yeah.
And Julie, your comment is actually very interesting, because I somewhat agree with some of what you're saying there based on that. But I'm surprised both of you have never seen this, because I know Max has, but this was a big movie when it came out, The Fury Road. This was a fucking huge release. I remember this is one of those movies where, like, I think a lot of people ended up seeing this when it came out, and everyone was talking about it at the time, right? So how about you, Max? How many times have you seen this?
Probably like 10, maybe at least.
So this is
Fury Road.
Safe to say you really enjoy this movie then.
Like Fury Road, because I saw it the weekend it came. I saw it the weekend it came out, actually.
Yeah, I think I would say I probably within the first week of it coming out as well, when it came out, because I had heard about how big of a deal this was. The director was returning to the franchise, right? So
I saw it twice in theaters, and then just over the course of the years, I just kept recommending it to my friends, so I'd always be rewatching it, and it's a very rewatchable film.
Yeah. So primarily the whole plot of this movie is pretty simple when you boil it down to, like, it is basically just 2 long drawn out action sequences, honestly, of them driving the truck one way and then turning back around and driving the truck back along the
essentially.
That is basically what it is, right? Like, if you it's not that crazy of a plot. Like, I mean, obviously there's other things involved, which we can kind of get into, but if you rewatching it, like I've probably watched this a handful of times, probably like 3-4 times, I feel like, including the one time at the theater. But since I've bought it, I probably watched it like twice, and this may be like the third time I've seen it. But I still really enjoyed it, and I ended up picking this because of the new release of Furiosa in theaters now. And I figured it's kind of like a fun action flick to start off the summer for our show here as well. So it kind of tied into that for me. But I still really love this movie. Like, this is, if you're going to go off of the whole letterbox reviews or whatever, this is like a 5-star movie for me still. I think it's nonstop. Once, like, he put a foot on the gas, does not slow down literally throughout the whole fucking movie. Like, as soon as you fucking, like, from start to finish, I just think it's an action thrill ride of like amazing action sequences. And let's not forget, the big deal about this movie when it came out that a lot of people talked about is the fact that 90% of this is not CGI. Like, this is a lot of people actually doing actual stunts off of the bikes and with the cars and that they made. Like, that is not CGI, that shit. That are actually working vehicles. Like, it's pretty crazy if you think about it, even from like a technical standpoint in that regard. Like, did you guys know that?
Yeah.
I figured for this one, I figured that they would have put the actual cars and stuff together. And I mean, I know the older ones, this was really high tech. I mean, I don't think they were doing 2,000 horsepower like they said they were doing. And there's a lot of camera tricks to that, I'm pretty sure. But
yeah, no, it was pretty crazy. I thought, like, it was shot really well. And the crazier thing, I wanted to pose this question to you guys. Maybe you guys know, because I was trying to think and I couldn't really think of this. So the first Mad Max movie came out in 1979. The second movie came in 1981, and the third movie came out in 1985. That means that when this came out in 2015, that was 30 years later, this director returned to this franchise and kind of like reworked this character and the idea, and kind of like made the world bigger and the ideas bigger, and kind of like is there any other franchise or director or movie where it's not like they just they revamped it in such a way like this in that amount of time that it comes to mind for any of you guys? Like, because to me that's pretty interesting, because he doesn't really reference the past movies whatsoever in this movie. Like, and it doesn't really take place like you really don't need to see the older films to enjoy this movie. That's right out the gate. I will mention that. You could just watch this one. Like, if you want to watch a movie, I think the closest in tone and like action and stuff like that, I would say is the best out of the older 3 ones is number 2, which is The Road Warrior. Honestly, that's probably the closest you can get to like what I think he eventually went on to do 30 years later in this film in terms of like the action sequences. But like, honestly, like, it's pretty crazy that he kind of revisited this 30 years later after, and this director, he won an Oscar for Happy Feet of all fucking movies.
I was gonna say, is this before or after Happy Feet this fucking movie came out?
After. So
okay.
He literally after the Mad Max movies, he did Babe, the pig movies, and he did Happy Feet, and he won an Oscar for Happy Feet. So think about in tone, even between those films and these films. This is what this is on this guy's resume, and he did a couple other movies too. But like, in terms of his big ones, Babe was pretty popular. Like, that was that had some Academy Award nominations. He won for Happy Feet, which a lot of people love that movie, right? And then he came back to now do, and he's 79 years old right now. George Miller, the director, he's 79, and he just put out this Furiosa movie right now, and he still plans on doing a sequel to Mad Max Fury Road that's supposed to be coming out at some point, depending, they said, on how Furiosa did, but it's doing very well so far. Well, theaters aren't doing very well right now, but it is critically acclaimed right now, the film. So yeah, it's pretty crazy when you think about it. But do you guys, any franchises, any movies, directors that you know that did something like that, came back to their own idea that many years later and reworked it? Anything come to mind?
I'm waiting. Like, to me, nothing in my head that I can think of. But I mean, do you guys?
Nothing successful.
Like, we've seen reboots before. I was trying to think, like, we've seen reboots. Right. But nothing like this, where he's basically reworking kind of the same ideas in the same world with the same character, but taking a whole brand new approach to it. And also
Like,
after
Star Wars would probably be the closest thing.
but that's a continuity thing though.
That's true.
Right? That's what I mean. Like this is
Well,
approaching it again. Like, hey, you know what? I kind of liked what I was doing. Like he's taking some of the ideas from all of those past movies and throwing it in here, but also like kind of adding onto that.
Right.
As well, what were you gonna say, Max?
Yeah.
I think Mad Max, the franchise, is unique in the regard that it's the only franchise I can think of where its original creator is still involved in the films. Like
That's
George
true.
Miller made the first one, and he's still making the newest one. I can't think of another franchise that has that. Like not even Star Wars. Like George Lucas sold Star Wars
True.
along the lines to Disney, so he's not even in there. He's not even involved in that anymore. And like there's a new Alien movie coming out this summer, and Ridley Scott's not involved in that either. So, and he's also like over the course of Alien, directors traded places. Like James Cameron did the second one,
David Fincher did the third one, I think,
and then
it was.
David Fincher did the third.
Yeah, all good directors.
Exactly. So, all great directors, phenomenal directors. But I can't think of another franchise that where the first person that made the first film is still working on it to this day, continuing its building on it to this day. Yeah. But I can't think of a lot of films that 30 years later they made a thing to it, like 30 years, like that's kind of becoming more common, I would say, like long awaited sequels. Like we just got the Top Gun Maverick. Like, I don't know, would that be kind of an example? Like it's not like a huge revamp to the franchise. It's more like same old, but for newer audiences, newer tones.
But again, the difference there is we're seeing it. Hey, what has this guy been up to for 30 years? Like here he is 30 years later. This is not that. This is him just basically reworking it and not even connecting the dots from the last movie to this movie. And he is basically revamping it, like saying this is the Mad Max character, but it's not really supporting or carrying any of the baggage of the character, like Mel Gibson, who played the character in the first three movies, like from those films previously, right? So it's really interesting. It's kind of like, hey, you know what? Let me dust off some of these ideas that I had and some of the things that I did in those films and like rework it and come at it from a completely different kind of way. Like I really can't think of anything else that's like that. Like if you guys know in the comments, so let us know, because maybe we're just overlooking something, but I really can't think of anything. It's very interesting.
Is it just me? Is it just me, or does this feel like?
Do you think a lot
of Zack's what do you call it? Snyder film?
No,
like the way it was played out. No,
no,
I don't know. I'm seeing.
I can see what
Momo.
you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
very
Maybe
stylish, right? Like
maybe when the guitar flew out at the screen and the steering wheel. Maybe that moment.
Well, that's what I mean. Like,
I think that was for
I won't tolerate any Zack Snyder slander.
I got some fucking comments about the guitarist in this movie.
You didn't like the guitarist? Come on, that's like the best fucking part. You didn't like the
fucking music float is the worst part of the fucking movie, dude. It's the worst part.
Julie,
the dude
they need tunes while they're driving.
The Power Ranger with the guitar is the shittiest part of the movie.
Are you fucking kidding me right now? It's the best part of the movie.
That's crazy.
Wow, that's a hot take.
That's hilarious.
That's a hot
take.
I
fucking hated that guy.
Hot take.
Hey,
and I got something to add to JT's fucking point too. I thought this had very Michael Bay fucking filters on it. This fucking orange and blue shit.
Michael Bay is like 90%.
Well, I actually like Michael Bay.
I don't mind Michael Bay, but like, like maybe from an action.
Yeah. Michael Bay gets a bad rap.
Let's get this out of the way, because I'm not liking where some of these comments are going. Did you like this movie, Julie, or did you not like this movie? And then we'll go to
I have complex feelings about this movie.
Wow.
Whoa.
Interesting. I think it's enjoyable. It's a fun movie. Yeah. It's very I can see why it got awards for like visual effects and for sound editing. It should have got awards for fucking stunt coordination. That was every dirt biker's wet dream, that fucking movie. And I can see why it got awards for editing.
Right.
Although I do have some fucking beef with the editor too. But I don't think
No,
You better be answering the late night chat emails, okay? Not Nico.
I know
Oh, God.
Julie's gonna be attacked
Falcon's
next.
gonna
You
come
know,
after
from the
you.
content. Don't ever come.
it was a fun movie. Do I think it was groundbreaking? Not really.
Wow. Yeah, but Julie, you're saying this
That's
watching it like 10 years after it fucking came out. Like, get out of
That's
here.
true. No. Visually,
No,
I
that's
think it was
fair.
very interesting.
That's
Plot wise, okay, at the beginning, I was like, okay, this is basically Dune with fucking dirt bikes. I don't know what's happening. They're just in a water shortage and they have these ridiculous vehicles. That was the premise that I started off with. And I just kept saying to Levi, I was like, this is
They have
like
Mother's
Dune,
Milk
right?
too.
Mother's Milk. Yeah, that was different.
It's very different from. I see where the connection. I get what you're saying. Yeah, it is in the desert and fucking but
And this fucking
Just
race
because of
of
the
like
sand.
halflings. It's all like Austin Butler's character and the fucking fat guy in the oil tub. Like that was all in there, dude.
yeah.
This was
That's
all like I was like this. I feel like I'm watching Dune with dirt bikes.
We're gonna come back to your comment on Dune though,
Okay.
because I do have something to say about that later on. It's funny
Yeah.
you mentioned Dune, but okay. So
That's funny.
you thought it was fun, but you didn't love.
I don't think this is a 5 out of 5. Not for me.
You're not gonna rewatch it then.
I
it sounds
might
like.
watch it. I might rewatch it for academic value.
Academic. You're gonna wear a monocle.
I got problems. I got problems with the fucking editor, dude.
Why do you hate the guitar guy though? That's so sick. He's like riding a car and driving a fucking car.
That was the campiest fucking thing they
Stereotype,
could have
yeah,
done.
Bro, but that's what's so sick. As soon as like the action is going like crazy, like they're all fighting each other. It's like,
Such an unserious thing to do in like a desert war movie.
that's what makes it so sick. And he's on suspension. He's like bouncing.
No, absolutely not. No.
And he has to fight, and then he has to fight.
He's
the guy.
gathered.
And the
he's gathering
flamethrowers
the
at the
troops.
end. Oh.
He's rallying them. That's what he's doing.
That's
he's getting
so
them hyped
sick.
up.
Wow,
JT,
Julie.
Where are you?
Yeah,
at
he's
with the-
he's
This
gathering
is
the
not a
troops.
girls. Perhaps this
Well-
is, this is an issue of men versus women. Perhaps.
Well, you're fitting that demographic
wait.
on this show.
Wait. This is how it works for me. I don't know
Uh,
if I'd watch it again.
why it's
Honestly,
important.
maybe I'd watch the second one to see what the second's about because it's the prelude. But honestly,
you're gonna watch
first time I
the
tried
new
to
one.
watch it, I
You
fell
mean?
asleep. Yeah.
Okay. I was like,
I
the
would try
second
it
one is
when
like
it
two
when
movies
it comes
back.
out, when it's available. So what I'm saying is, this one here. The thing is, I fell asleep. Like I said, the first time I started watching it, I tried. I don't know. I just couldn't do it. The second time, when I started following it, and I started like sort of paying attention to it and following along the storyline, and I figured it's really just a basic storyline that's gone extreme when it's come to when it comes to acting it out. Really, I mean, and thirdly, I mean, to be honest with you, anything with Charlize Theron, even if she only has one arm, straight up, like Nico's haircut, fuck, man.
She's
Anything, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she's great.
You're gonna love the new movie with Anya Taylor-Joy too.
You know what? She
Oh
doesn't
my
really do
God.
it for me in that regard. No, in that regard, also as
Interesting.
an actress, she's okay. Like I didn't mind her, but I would have rather much Charlize Theron reprise her role in this movie, even though it was a prelude. Because the new movie is a prelude, actually, Jay. It's about how Furiosa kind of
Started,
came
yeah.
to be. Situation, yeah. But I don't know if they did a great job of linking these films. I do think they set up the character of Furiosa really well. I also really liked Chris Hemsworth. I thought he was an excellent bad guy in the Furiosa movie. Like he was probably my favorite part about that. But Anna Taylor-Joy is just okay for me. Like I would have much rather. I'm with Jay. Charlize Theron, I think, was much better in this movie. I thought, and you do get to see the origin
Yes,
of how she gets
I
that
agree.
that arm though.
Yeah.
See how she gets the metal arm in the Furiosa movie. I would suggest. I did like Furiosa. I didn't want to just put that out there, but since we're talking about this movie, won't spend too much time on it. Jay, did you like the guitar guy?
Yeah, I thought it was like a stereo, bro, following them around. You couldn't speakers. They had too much other shit in those trucks, man. Like you get a whole stereo going and getting you hyped up for this for the scene, right?
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of weird. The first Mad Max film, it's set at basically a few years after the movie actually came out. They're kind of very vague. They basically just say that a war has happened, on Earth, and this is the post-apocalyptic kind of fallout of it. It does take place in Australia. Mel Gibson has a bit of an Australian accent in it, and the cool thing about it is in the original Mad Max, it's so bare bones compared to where we eventually get with this movie. Like he's basically just he's like a highway policeman essentially. Like he's basically like he's literally just out. He has a group of other highwaymen kind of basically trying to fight back against all the street biker gang people that are popping up in the wastelands as a result of having this post-apocalyptic kind of setting for the film. But there's still some bit of civilization still in that movie compared to kind of where we're at here in Mad Max Fury Road. Like he has a wife, he has a kid. They get killed in the movie by the biker street, like by the biker gang, like one of these gangs essentially. But it kind of plants the seeds for like where they're going to go in the series in that sense. But it's like what's nice about the first couple of movies is they're only like an hour and a half. Like all of the first three movies, that's another thing these days. Movies are too long. I feel like these days they really need to go back to like doing a tight hour 30, hour 40 minutes for a lot of these films. Like I don't mind having a film that's like 2 hours if it's worth it, but like it seems like every movie now is a 2 hours and 20 minutes, 2 hours, 2.5 hours for no reason half the time. Like other than like we're trying to make giving people their money's worth because people don't go to the theaters anymore, right? Do you guys disagree or?
Give me the long movies. I love it.
It depends what it is. Like if you're gonna give me like a new Martin Scorsese movie and it's gonna be fucking 4 hours, I don't care. Right, but like if it's like some bullshit drama or horror movie and it's 2 hours and 20 minutes or something, and when it doesn't have to be, it can be even 2 hours, then give me that. Don't give me fucking everything has to be 2.5 hours. There's so many shit movies I feel like these days that are unnecessarily long, right?
I feel like I need like a 2 hour minimum though. If I'm looking to see how long the runtime is, and if it's not at least 2 hours, I'm like, this is not going to be worth it.
Right. Hold on, I'm just gonna.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree. I mean, I go to the theater a lot still too, but I know you do. Yeah, I think the only person really that doesn't hear is Jay. But yeah, I think
you bastard.
You're the problem with the industry.
You're the reason, fucker.
But
really
that's kind of what's.
They're fucked, yo. I think it's gone. Yeah. I think it's over for them, to be honest.
It's not looking good right now. No, it's true. The numbers are in. It's looking bad.
The numbers are.
Yeah.
There's numbers?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I mean, really, I mean, I just thought it was me that didn't go. Every time you guys are always going somewhere.
And then Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, I thought like it really kind of takes the basic bare bones idea of what the first movie is and really kind of, I think, is the closest to the character of Mad Max that you, or at least the tone of the action, I would say, that's in this movie.
Yeah.
Mad Max 3 Thunderdome is a fucking huge departure and the worst fucking film in the series. I'm going to say right now, it's the cocaine 80s though. It's the mid 80s. It's starring Tina Turner. I don't know what the fuck's going on in that movie. Yeah. It's bad. It's really fucking bad. Like, and it's a shame because like, it's the first step they took to doing the world building aspect that we kind of see in Mad Max Fury Road and Furiosa. Like they do go places. There is town set up. There is lots of people involved in it, but it's just a shit fucking movie. It's terrible. Like it feels more like he was trying to do like a Spielberg film, but bad. or something, like, because it has like there's a kid element in it. There's like it's weird. It's like a bad version of the Goonies or something like that, or like really, it's I would say it's more in line with like Spielberg film of the 80s. I feel that's what he was trying to go for, because there was like all of a sudden there was humor in it. There was cheesy type of like like comedy kind of cues, which were never in the first two films. It was very serious, very, you know what I mean? Like and then the third movie, it's just like, I don't know. What you have thoughts on the third movie, Max? Have you seen it more recently, or?
I mean, I haven't seen the Mel Gibson ones in some time, but I would want to rewatch them. But I like all of them. I like Beyond Thunderdome, but I agree with some of your points. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's the only one in the franchise that isn't rated R. I think it's rated PG.
That would make
That
sense.
one,
I don't know that.
Beyond Thunderdome.
Of those three,
it's also probably of all of them, including the new ones.
Yeah,
It's the only one that's not rated R.
No,
I
it's
thought
not.
Fury
entire
Road
franchise.
wasn't rated R. I don't think.
I'm looking it up right now.
Fury Road, I think, is rated R. Yeah,
Yeah.
look that up. But
Was
Beyond
it?
Thunderdome, I think that was the time when when Mad Max went like Hollywood kind of, because of the success of the second one. So
Right.
they have kind of more of like
I'm
uh,
looking it up right now.
more of a
PG-13. Yeah, you're right.
I was for Fury Road.
No,
the
for
soundtrack.
Beyond.
They got
Over
Tina
Thunderdome.
Turner in
Okay,
there,
sorry.
and it's very
I think the one that I watched last night was the PG-13 version of Fury Road.
PG-13 version of Fury Road.
there's a
What do
They
you-
PG-13
released-
version.
They released two versions, and I think the one we watched was PG-13 because he said that at the beginning of the
At least
movie. I'm
4 or
pretty sure.
5.
Is that even a thing that exists? Maybe that's why you didn't like it as much. PG-13 Fury Road. Like, what even happens in that movie? Do people get killed?
Do you see the breast ladies?
The which ladies?
Exactly. The breast ladies. The milk ladies.
the milk ladies at the beginning of the movie. Yeah.
Okay, so
When Levi comes
that's
back, I'm gonna
pretty-
ask him. I'm pretty sure he said
Milk
that.
ladies.
When we watched Fury Road last night, did it not say PG-13 at the beginning of the movie? PG-14. It said.
Wait, Jay and Julie.
Canada's the system isn't.
And he was surprised. I remember because I was like, "Oh, weird."
Hmm.
So maybe I saw the shitty version.
I don't know about that.
I'll have to find the rated R version.
Yeah,
Anyway.
Jay and Julie, this Fury Road is like your first Mad Max, right? Like
Correct.
you haven't seen the other ones?
Correct.
No.
I think
Yeah,
that's maybe kind of clouding your judgment of the film because you're not really like understanding what the world is, kind of.
not really, Max. I don't
Yeah.
think that's.
I would say so.
I wouldn't.
I
You
would
would
say
think
so.
so?
I think
wouldn't.
so. Because Fury
Well,
Road. Go ahead.
Go on. No,
No, because
go on. I
I
want
was
to finish
saying
your thought.
Fury Road is the one like that won all the Oscars and it got all this critical acclaim and it's the newest one, so people kind of like gravitated towards that one a lot. And I think they might have sort of pushed the Mel Gibson ones to the side a little bit because maybe it has to do with Mel Gibson a bit too. But I think there's like a gradual understanding of what the world is if you watch the movies in order. Like if you watch it from the first to the second to the third and then onto Fury Road. But if you're Fury Road, you're just thrown into this wasteland. You don't understand like why the world is fucked up and why all this stuff is happening and stuff. And you don't understand the motifs that are referenced from earlier films.
But that's what I think makes Fury Road, just watching that, great, actually, because once you're kind of immersed in the world, a lot of the
You kind of
things
got to
in
guess.
a lot of the things in Mad Max don't really make sense. They're like, why do people have like certain, get-ups? Why are they using certain like things as weapons? Why is there a fucking guy driving around with a guitar? Why is, you know what I mean? Like that's what that's what I actually like about the Mad Max movies. It's like it's fucking weird. Like it doesn't make like it's like we're in a weird post-apocalyptic like world with a fucking guy who has like a breathing apparatus attached to him. You don't know what the fuck's going on there. You know what I mean? Like there's like he's got all the, you know, everyone's like malnourished and sick, and you have those fucking guys, the war dogs that used to be war pups.
Fucking spray painting their teeth.
Yeah, and that part's awesome. Like going to Valhalla because that's like the heaven for like warriors, like sacrificing themselves. Like you know what I mean? Like that's what those are the things I love about it. Like maybe he's right in the sense that it was too much for you guys. You're like, what the fuck am I watching? What's going on? Or at least for Julie, I don't know. Because Jay, I think he said he may have enjoyed it more than it sounds like you did, despite it you thinking it was fun. But yeah, I think that's what makes the film fun, is that it's such a like the world building aspect of this and all the weird characters and stuff in it, and things don't make sense. I don't know.
I got a question.
I would
go ahead,
say
Jay.
that, like, yeah.
What are you gonna say, Jay?
I was gonna say that the more you think of, like, the better. The part I liked about it was like that, because I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I know it was some sort of apocalyptic fucking thing or whatever the fuck was going on in this wasteland, and you know they're fighting for water. Besides that, it kept me guessing the whole film on why is that there and why is that there and why is that there. So it had me paying attention that way, but at the same time, it also, you know, it was like, yeah, what the fuck is going on? But you know, in the same token, I had a talk with my old man because he's watched them. He goes, they don't have any really sort of,
no, you
know, there's nothing that really, you know, he goes that joins the old ones with the new ones, and then these ones here to get the story. It's just a wasteland, and it's good to, you know, see what some people are thinking. I mean, he says it great at the first line, dude. He says he's gone crazy or about it. I mean, really, if you that line right there just makes you ready for the film on being, what the fuck are we gonna watch? That's what I feel. But
he's got a good point.
Go ahead, Julie.
He's got a good point about the like that's something that I didn't take into account really until now. Is it does have that element of like. It didn't go like the typical route of like Western storytelling where they fucking have to spoon feed you the story because the audience is so dumb. Mm-hmm. But I just chalked that up to like I didn't have context from the old movies.
So you're both right, and this is why I said what I said. And Max, then you can comment on it because I know you've been waiting to. Max is right in the sense that you do see all of the elements in this movie that are displayed throughout the first three films,
right?
But you also don't need to have watched those things going into watching this film. Like it really has, like you said, no connection to it. So while you're kind of seeing those elements sprinkled throughout the first three movies, because they're not all like this, the first three movies. Like I said, the first movie's very bare bones, very basic. Second movie, that's when you kind of get a lot of the car riding shit going on, like the action sequences and stuff that you see in this movie. But of course, it's the early 1980s. They didn't have like they didn't know how to do it as good then. So it looks good for its time, absolutely, but not like to this degree. This is 30 fucking years later, and the guy's a much better director at this point, obviously. And in the third movie, that's when you kind of get the Thunderdome aspect. That's when you get the big world building thing with the Citadel, like in this movie, and all that kind of shit. So like what Jay's saying, like I think you'll like Furiosa, Jay, because they do expand like kind of the world. Like they go to all the different towns in the Furiosa movie, like because they reference them in this movie, how there's a place called the Bullet Farm, and there's the gas town, and they go to all those places in the Furiosa movie. And to Julie's point, the Furiosa movie, and that's what I didn't love about it as much, was a little bit more spoon-fed. Out of all the films, it probably had the most story to it because it was serving as a prelude to the Fury Road. The Fury Road. I feel like he had to add more story into this film because it had to explain that character that we're now following in the current movies. So like I would say both of you guys, if you had any interest in this movie, I think it's worth checking out Furiosa because And I wouldn't even bother going back and checking out the old one. If you're gonna check out the old ones, check out the second one, Road Warrior. That's the only one I would suggest out of all those.
I don't think I'll be able to appreciate it because it's such a product of its time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, this is bullshit because technology has come so far and we're so used to a certain standard of filmmaking now that I will not be able to appreciate what it was in its day.
Mhm.
That's why I won't watch the fucking first Star Wars movies.
Oh my god! Oh, don't open that can of worms.
I'm not gonna watch them. I can't.
No, that's what? Okay, I'm not gonna touch that one.
Then don't watch Acolyte either.
I don't. Wait, so you don't watch anything that's old? Is that what you're saying? You don't watch anything that's 80s and older or whatever?
Past her age, probably not.
Not that's supposed to be in like a science fiction sort of world.
Oh, but that's some of the best stuff though during that.
Get off the fucking show, man. What?
Yeah, right?
These are the hottest, wildest takes I've ever heard. Watch what you better pick a good fucking movie. I'm gonna shit all over that fucking movie next time.
Nah, I got your fucking soft spot nailed. You just wait.
Yeah,
So go ahead.
Okay, nice. I don't
Max,
know how you...
Max, what do you have to add though?
I mean, I've heard a lot, so it's like, oh my god. So I wasn't saying that you had to understand Fury. You had to watch the other movies to understand Fury Road. What I was saying was, I think watching the other movies will make you appreciate Fury Road a little more.
I see.
Because like Nico said, it's weird, so you kind of anticipate the weirdness a little bit.
Okay,
it's a primer, and I totally disagree with what
it gives you context for the universe.
Absolutely, yeah. You understand this is the world, and people are driving, and they're trying to kill each other, and everyone's starving, and this is sort of like, of course, the movie establishes that in the first frame of the film, but Fury Road, I mean. But I just think, like, if you watch the other ones, there's a bigger like you said, bigger context, and there's just a bigger understanding of what the world is. I love all of them. Like, not just the second one that Nico's saying, just watch the second one. No, I like them all. In fact, I was actually watching the first 20 minutes of the first one, just watching the first beginning. I wasn't planning on watching the whole thing again, but there's some, like, for 79, for a low budget film that was made in Australia, there is some great action stunts, some great car stunts just in the first 20 minutes of the whole highway chase of the first one. He's like, cars are being flipped over and he's like crashing through a bus and coming out the other side. And I'm like, this is incredible. This is all practical stunts. So there is the appreciation. I will say the biggest strength of Fury Road, to me, why this is a great film, is because the action is very, like we mentioned, like Michael Bay earlier. The action is very, like, clear, and it's concise, and it's legible, and you can tell where the action is happening at all times. You know where the characters are, you know where the rig is, you know where everything is in relation to its environment, as opposed to modern action films today where there's like a zillion cuts, cut, and you don't even know what the hell you're looking at. So that's
it did have really good cinematography. Like, there's a lot of production, like I would give a lot of praise to, like, the production value of the movie. Again, I don't have the content. I thought, okay, is there no element of this that is based in, like, is this based on a novel series or anything like that, or comic books?
No.
None of this? It's just original?
It's just an original creation by George Miller.
So I was going to get into this. The biggest thing about this movie too, and this really has more to do with, like, the earlier films in the franchise more than it does with Fury Road, because although this already inspired a whole bunch of people to this movie, that saw this, directors and fans alike, but the original Mad Max movies have inspired so much. Like, the actual movie itself is so important to so many other things in media. Like, there's a manga they're actually reprinting in English right now, called Fist of the North Star. And and it's basically a guy going through the wastelands of the Mad Max world and fighting people that are like Mad Max, essentially, like villains, like weird fucking like weird guys that, because in Mad Max too, and you'll see it if you watch this movie, even Furiosa, and even like the after the first, everything other than the first, well, even in the first movie, they all like pick these people to like lead these gangs, like in the Wastelands. Like there's people that are like, they're all like bow down to, like they're basically like the leaders. And Chris Hemsworth plays the leader of the gang in one of the gangs in the new movie Furiosa, and he's such like a mustache twirling fucking bad guy in that movie. It's pretty great. He's like hamming it up the whole
He was
fucking
great.
time, and I loved it. Yeah, that's actually probably my favorite part. And he's still fucking
Mine
super
too.
jacked, but he's slimmed down now from Thor, because Thor was fucking massive. Like he's kind of
Right.
smaller because like he is living in a fucking wasteland, but he's still like ripped, you know. But so no, it's he's pretty fucking sick in this movie. In the new one Furiosa. But yeah, no, there's so many things that it inspired. Like I pulled it up the other day, like Fist of the North Star, the manga is I'm going to pull actually a volume. So one of you guys talk, I'm going to just show you some of the art from it, because it's exactly like Mad Max.
Yeah, it's like if you like transplanted Bruce Lee into the Mad Max world. That's what that shit is like.
That's what this is.
But that's it's a very popular anime manga from the 80s.
It is interesting. It kind of had the reverse
yeah.
effect, like that it inspired stuff in the comic book world. Because like what I was going to say is like Fury Road felt like it was based on a comic book series to me.
Yeah, like look, this is. Hold on, I'm just gonna put myself on the screen here for a second. This is like one of the bad guys.
Okay.
You see, like his spike helmet, and like it's just, they're basically just like he's fighting these guys in the wasteland of this comic, like just walking around basically killing people, because like there's a bunch of bad guys that are going around, you know, putting people into slavery and taking women hostage, and you know, yeah, like it's essentially like there's no motive other than this is the apocalypse, like in these films. Like there's just and obviously in this one you had the water thing, so I get where you're coming from with the Dune kind of aspect to it, like in that sense. But also, again, it's just resources. Like but all they care about is fuel. Like fuel is a big fucking thing in the other movies too, because they obviously all driving around in these movies fighting each other. So fuel is a big fucking deal, and then. So is ammo, but then they have that bullet farm place. So they have a place that produces the fuel and a place that produces bullets, which are basically the main things that you need in this world to survive, right? And otherwise, there's, you know, they all like, you know, follow like the Citadel is like a home base, like essentially like the capital of the wastelands, essentially, right? And it's like King's Landing in Game of Thrones, for anybody who will get that reference out there. So like it's kind of interesting in that sense. So but that's the thing, if you don't know that, like this is a movie you're playing catch up, like you don't even know the point of those war pups until like halfway through the movie when they talk about it. You don't know why they're doing what they're doing, or who they are, or why they fucking work for Immortal Joe. You know what I mean? Like you don't know any of that shit. So I kind of just like getting thrown into things sometimes, because that's how Dune was for me too. I knew nothing of Dune before going to watch those movies, and I just watched them this year, both of them. I never had seen it when it first came out, and I know lots of people love that book. And there's so many people that know about it and what the point of that movie is. And I know that there's, you know, different messaging and stuff like that about what the movie's about. But this is much more scaled down. This is much more basic, this movie, in that respect. Like, it's not as complicated, I feel like, as Dune is. Like, once you actually, you know what I mean? Like, you know, are down with all the weird elements of this film. Because, yeah, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of weird characters. Yeah.
Remember earlier you said how this movie was just basically like they're driving to a point and then they're circling back?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's kind of the genius of the movie, is how simple the idea is, and it's just executed just brilliantly. I think like it really is like this is one large car chase sequence, like, and yeah, it's fantastic. So I guess you're saying you don't like this movie, Julie? Is that what you're getting at, or?
I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm saying that I don't think it was like a fucking masterpiece. Like,
yeah, that's fair. I mean,
fair,
on your first watch too, maybe.
True, yeah. Like I'm taking it.
That's also an issue.
I'm taking it at face value. I'm taking it with no context of the franchise. I do think like I said, like I think like cinematography was fucking awesome. Like I paid attention to a lot of like the technical shit of how they filmed stuff and like how production went more than I paid attention to the fucking story.
Yeah,
this should have won Best Picture, by the way. Like, because nobody gives a fuck about Spotlight. Let's just put that out there.
Is that what fucking won that
don't
year?
tell me Spotlight. Don't tell me Spotlight is a good movie, or I'm fucking.
What the fuck is Spotlight?
Are you fucking kidding me? It's a great
Yeah, I
fucking
swear.
movie. It's a great
Oh
fucking
god,
movie. Amazing.
that movie sucks.
Just
That
because you
movie's
don't want to talk about, just because you don't want to talk about.
Nobody wants to
preschool
see
and how
Mark
rapey
Ruffalo
kids
yell about.
in Boston.
Yo, we
okay?
need a movie. We need a movie with Mark Ruffalo yelling about Drake, like about Drake and like.
And
Is it a hot take that I kind of fucking hate everything that Mark Ruffalo's ever in?
Oh, okay.
I like Mark Ruffalo a lot.
I don't like him.
He makes interesting choices. His Collateral Cop is very interesting.
Yeah, I like Collateral.
That whole
even though he's barely in it. I don't like it because of Mark Ruffalo.
No, it's weird in that.
we don't like Collateral because of Mark Ruffalo, but
how about Zodiac? He's great in Zodiac too.
Yeah,
maybe I haven't seen anything that he's in. Like I've only seen like the rom-com shit and the Hulk.
Have you watched Begin again? Have you watched Begin again?
No.
Oh, that's a good rom-com one that he's in. Actually, I would suggest checking that one out. It's actually really good. That one's good. I like that movie a lot. Begin Again, it's called. I don't know if you've seen it, Max.
No, I haven't.
Look it up.
This is an example of like how a movie's legacy can also kind of ruin it, because you've been told and you've been programmed to think walking into Mad Max, that Fury Road, that this is the greatest film ever made, and like so you automatically think that in the back of your head. And this is why a lot of people will watch like The Godfather for the first time, and they'll be like, "Eh, it was okay," because they're only like they're watching. Because you've been told like, "Oh, this is the greatest movie," so you're expecting that going in, when you should just be watching it for what it is. So my kind of rule of thumb for movies that have like this very, very large legacy behind it would to be watch it twice. Once to kind of get it out of the way, and then now you can, because you've seen it already, now you can kind of see, you don't have to like hyper focus on, wow, this is the most brilliant thing I've ever seen. You don't have to think that. You just have to let the movie wash over you, kind of.
You get a sort of second chance to like digest everything.
Yeah. I would say.
No, he makes a good point. It's true, because sometimes when you see certain movies too, you don't get them, or you don't know what it's about, or you go in with preconceived notions. Me and Max were actually talking about this the other day, and then when you actually just find out, sometimes it's like, oh, this is just like a chill movie where you hang out with these characters. If you were to rewatch that same movie with lower stakes now, thinking that you know, knowing what it is, you maybe have a better time with it now that you kind of know like what it is, right? Because like you said, like other than like the great like set pieces and stuff like that, like even just the pure coordination of the stunts in this movie and the action, there's not really much there to kind of, you know what I mean, like to go off of. Like you brought up Dune has a fucking great story behind what's going on in that film, whereas this movie, I'm not gonna say it's not good, but it's the story, but it's just very basic compared to what Dune is, I think, in that regard, right? Like, but it is still a very lived-in world. I don't know. I'm not trying to undersell it. I'm just trying to say I think Dune's better a little bit in that regard.
No, I feel you, but I have to push back on that thought, just because I don't think movies have to have some sort of complex story in order for it to be a great story. Because I think the very concept of Fury Road and Mad Max is just about surviving, about fighting for your freedom, about, you know, fighting for like what the characters say, hope, redemption, and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be like, I mean, Dune is so complex and so like through the, you know, over the hills, through the mountains. This woman is like communicating to her baby like before it's born and shit. Like it's so over the top. Like, I mean, in a good way. Like it's very well over thought out. Like it's very thought out. But I don't think that makes a good story and that makes a bad story. Like if something is simple, like some of the best movies are simple, like just simple stories. And I think that doesn't make it a bad story. I think there's a difference, right, between just a simple one and saying it has a story versus it has no story. You know, because there is a story in the film.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying there's no
You know,
story.
and I would say that Furiosa is the central character of the film, which is ironic because it's a Mad Max movie, but
Yeah.
the movie is really about Charlize Theron's character.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else did I want to say here? Yeah, I just looked it up because I had looked at an article previously before getting on, but I didn't write it down. Like Nikki Sixx, he cited the Mad Max films and Escape from New York as a major inspiration for the early stage shows and costume designs of Motley Crue. That he talked about in the band's tell-all book, The Dirt, which is I think a movie with MGK now. I haven't seen that, but he listed Mad Max as one of the major influences when it came to that kind of stuff. As I mentioned, manga author Buronson cited Mad Max as an inspiration for his manga and anime series. There's just so many things I feel like that came in the wake of those films. And like oh, there you go. As Max actually mentioned this on our last stream when he was on Late Night Chat when we were talking this a little bit doing the show.
Oh, I know what you're gonna say.
James Wan credited the film's final scene in the original Mad Max. He chains the bad guy at the end. Max Mel Gibson chains the bad guy's leg like the same way that he do in the first Saw movie. You know how like that he wakes
Oh
up?
yeah, I saw that. Yeah, he
So-
mentioned that.
and he gives them something. He's like, hack your leg off if you want to survive, but you're gonna have to fucking cut your leg off to get out of this, or else you're gonna die out here. And
Yeah.
it's he did. And when I watched it the other day, because I'd never seen the original film, like I bought the trilogy, but I'd never seen the first one. I feel like I've watched like the second and third, but yeah, I never seen the I've never seen that one. And that was pretty cool. That really stuck out to me because even when I watched it without knowing that, and Max is the one that told me, I was like, yeah, it's just like fucking Saw. So that's pretty cool too. So there's things like that, like the reverberations from this film, like the things that came after and that it inspired is really cool. And obviously it's James Cameron credited the series along with Star Wars for having a major influence on him. Which is a big fucking deal. It's James Cameron that went on to do a lot of cool things. Guillermo del Toro and Robert Rodriguez have both cited this, as well as director Hideo Kojima, who did the Metal Gear, I think, games, if I'm not mistaken, as well, right? I think that's
And that fucking new one, that with Norman Reedus.
Yeah.
That's right. So
Where he's tied to the baby.
Death
What the fuck is that?
Stranding.
Death Stranding. That's it. Yeah.
Akira Toriyama, of course, the creator
That's some
of Dragon
Dune
Ball.
shit.
Yeah. Akira Toriyama was influenced
Fucking
by
babies.
He did a manga as well as
Just
Sandland.
his blood bag.
Tank Girl, if anybody knows Tank Girl, which was a comic and a movie back in the day that also takes place in Australia.
Okay.
It's like that's basically Mad Max-ish as well. So yeah, all kinds of things. Honestly, like the list goes on here from things that people are citing as like that these things influenced after those movies. So very, very interesting.
I like this segment where we talk about what
think
is
that
inspired by the
influenced
film series. It's good.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to bring this one back.
To go in reverse, the thing that
Yep.
inspired Mad Max is the Dollars trilogy, the Sergio Leone movies with Clint Eastwood. You guys know what I'm talking about, like the good, the bad, and the ugly,
Good,
and all
the bad,
that.
and the
Of
ugly.
like
Yeah,
this
Fistful of
character,
Dollars.
yeah,
Yeah.
Fistful of Dollars, exactly. Where this character just walks into some abandoned town or whatever, and people are struggling, and there's a conflict already there happening, and he helps the people kind of like, get back to where they should be. That's sort of like what the Mad Max films kind of were.
And yeah, sorry guys, I know Jay behind the scenes there has been having some internet issues today, but all good. We'll we'll land the plane here. We'll keep talking here in case it happens again. So I want to mention a couple of good shots in this film and like scenes. I think for me, like rewatching it this time around, I really loved like when they're first going to the green place, as they're referring to, the place of abundance, as it's called more so in Furiosa, where there's like life there. They think like they can grow plants and stuff like that. Like it's a place in the wastelands that apparently exists. which is referenced and existed, I guess, in the Furiosa timeline, which happens 10 years before I think Mad Max happens, Fury Road. But in this movie, as we find out in this film, when she gets there, no longer exists. It's like a wasteland now, and there's like weird crow creatures walking around. The water is dirty. I really liked when they were first headed there and everything goes red. Like they go through the sandstorm and the whole fucking thing goes red. And then later on, before they get to that other area, the whole surroundings are blue. I really kind of liked that, like with the color kind of that the scenes were like kind of draped in, like everything. That whole scene, like when it was getting really tense and they're going through like that sandstorm and Max is on the fucking back of the car, like trying to hold on, and she's just fucking, like going through it. That was really sick, that scene. And then when they end up crashing, and then you just get that camera shot of the still of the sand, and you don't know, like Max is like in the sand, and all of a sudden, like he lifts his head and like fucking just climbs up out of the sand after he got buried from the crash. That was a really cool shot, like a nice still shot, followed by like him kind of wrestling himself out of there, and he's got that fucking thing strapped to his face still then too, that it's got the chain and everything. So I thought that was pretty badass. How about you, Jay? What any scenes that you liked? Anything that stuck out to you?
I like the milking machines, man. No, straight up, bro. I need to get me a
this
few.
guy can't get off that.
Sloppy mommy milkers at the beginning of the movie.
That's some cool mechanism.
Those are some sloppy tits.
Look at that right now, man. And I wonder if that keeps you healthy. You have like a life and turn white like those guys, and make you want to fucking put spray paint in your mouth. And
well, that's why the cool thing about that too, I don't know if you caught it. That's why they're literally using people as blood bags, as they refer to Max. That's why he hooks them up, because he's doing a blood transfusion. And that's why he's like, they're all like malnourished, and a lot of them apparently have lymphoma, like in cancer and shit like that. So he has to do the blood like that's why when that guy Nux was great in this movie too. That's Buddy from he was in X-Men. He's Cyclops from X-Men, the older movies.
He's
Cyclops.
He's the Beast guy.
Beast, not Cyclops.
Yeah.
Hank McCoy.
Yeah,
Hank McCoy. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's in other things too. He was in that fucking Renfield movie with Nicolas Cage, which wasn't that great. He's a vampire. He's like his handler in that. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it wasn't that good. But he's in lots of things now, that guy. He's really good in this. He's actually one of my favorite characters in this movie, that guy. How he actually has a purpose. And it's kind of comical that he kept trying to kill himself and he couldn't do it. Like he keeps like fumbling the bag. The guy gives him the pistol. He gives him the gun. He's like, yeah, go kill her and I can get my kid back or whatever. And I'll personally bring you to Valhalla. And he's like, yeah, right. He grabs the gun and then like the chain gets stuck on the car. And he's like, mediocre. He fucking drives off.
Oh,
I love that part. So that was pretty cool too. I really like that guy, but he there's a few good scenes with him too, I thought, in this movie. How about you, Max? What'd you think? Any good scenes that stuck out to you?
I like probably the visual that sticks out the hardest is the one where like right before they're about to enter the storm, and it like zooms out and you see the nuclear sandstorm. Like that was good. But I really like the fight scene between Max and Furiosa, and they're like struggling to get the gun and everything. That was a really well done scene. Action sequence, and I mean honestly the whole movie. I like the whole movie from start to even the opening scene when he's like you see him in his car and it's like the wasteland and stuff, and like I love this film frame by frame.
Mm-hmm. Julie,
I wanna talk about the fucking editing shit I got beef with first.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
There's okay. You have a good point about the filter shots with like the all red and the all blue cast across those. I did notice that. I did like that. So that particular sequence with the all blue when they're going through that wasteland, they show like 5 seconds of that landscape with these fucking long legged creatures, and they do this fade to black, and it's the dumbest fucking cut ever. That pissed me off so fucking much. And they
Wow.
did so many of those like fade to black cuts between stuff, and I'm like, why are they doing this? This cheesy fade to black thing
What,
bothered me. And during the
what was wrong with that?
there's just something so corny about it. I can't fucking place it. It was just really
Fade to
weird
black?
in the middle of the movie. Like there was something
Yeah.
really off-putting
But
about the way. I don't know if it was.
The only time I thought that personally, like I wasn't bothered by what you're saying, but what I referenced earlier with the fucking wheel and the guitar flying out at us, which I don't know if they put on for a 3D.
Was it in 3D?
That's
Yeah.
That's
yes,
what I'm
that was
wondering.
3D.
Okay, so
That was 3D, and it was
Okay, so-
it was amazing in 3D.
I was going to say that would be pretty cool, but I hate that there's this era of movies where that was like they were really trying to push
You can
that.
tell that they did that.
Yeah, like because I shook my head at that part. I'm not gonna lie. I was just like, I laughed because of the guitar and stuff. Because I like the guitar, but the fucking wheel and the guitar, because they both were like boing, like in your face. I was like, I'm like, get out of here with that shit.
So there's another thing that I was like irritated me is they did this recurring shot, this like zoom shot on Immortan Joe's face during this one fight sequence. And maybe it was part of that. Maybe it was like they were doing this fucking 3D effect and I didn't realize it until we got to that steering wheel bit that was clearly meant to be in 3D. Like maybe that's what they were doing. Use like the same shot of his face 3 times in the same sequence of fighting. This like really like quick half-second zoom shot on his face.
The
And I was like, oh my God.
yeah. The zooming. There was some
Wait.
bit weird zoom ins. I agree with you there. There was like the moments they chose to zoom in on certain things where it was
Yeah.
yeah.
I think
Can
like
I-
the
Can I ask you something, Julie?
yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious, like, because I'm not really following. Do you not like Fade to Black as a concept, like when it's done in movies, or when it's done in when it was done in this?
I think not as a concept. I'm just thinking like where the placement of it was every time they used it in the middle of the movie. Like it
I
felt
see.
there was like specifically with that wasteland part where they flew the black, like that felt like a completely incomplete sequence that they were just showing a bit of this wasteland and it was like suddenly there was these new figures in this fucking place that they didn't explain or show any more of and then they just fade to black and it never is talked about again. I was like, okay, that was weird. Like it just felt like it cut that part really short in a weird way. And it made me notice it a lot more as a transition rather than feeling like it was smooth into the next thing.
Are you talking about halfway through the movie, like when they did that whole like it felt like it was over sort of thing, and then all of a sudden, next scene?
See, and like he's explaining it in a very simple way, but he's thinking the same thing as I was. It's like, what was that the end of that thought? Like that was really weird.
So you know what's interesting about that? In Furiosa, they did the thing where they do it in 5 acts. Like there's act breaks in the film. Like you know how like
See, and I don't mind that.
yeah, you
Because
know
that is kind of the
It's very
same thing, but I don't
like.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, where they're like whatever, the woman, and then they introduce you to her, and then like this act 2, the whatever, and then they introduce you to something else, right? Like that I kind of liked how they broke that up actually.
The more I think about it,
what?
the more I think about it, Furiosa is like reminding me so much of Kill Bill.
A little
like,
bit.
It's
It is a
totally
woman
Kill
on
Bill, that
It
film.
is a woman on a revenge quest.
Like
That's true.
yeah, on the path of revenge, and it's like chapters, and
Mhm.
structurally, it's very Tarantino like.
Yeah.
But
Do you
as far as
think
like
on purpose to like dumb it down for people, because now the first one it was just guessing a lot of things happening, or they do it to dumb down. I believe that they dumb it up
Yeah.
for the audience.
Well,
No, I think it was just an artistic choice, just a stylistic choice.
but that's what I think's good about the new movie too, is that it isn't just the same tone as this movie.
Exactly.
It is different, and it does make the world building like aspect of this, like the character, like you get to know the character more from like because it takes place I think 10 years before Fury Road, and it does take the time to actually tell more of a proper story, which this one kind of just jumped into things. Like you really didn't give you the chance to really had to kind of
Yeah.
pick up things as you went, right? But is there anything you like, Julie? That which is what I initially asked.
I was gonna get to that. I didn't want to interrupt you flow at all. But yeah, like I think that the when I think of it, I'm thinking of it in like sequences of fighting. The parts that stuck out to me most is like the bit in the canyon, like where she's supposed to drop off the fuel and it's just supposed to be her and they're all hiding. Like that, the beginning of that sequence until the end of when they're out of that stretch of the canyon, like with the dirt bikes and all that shit. I think that was the best coordinated and the most flowy.
Going back to the Citadel with the old ladies, like that part, or on the way to the
on the way to meet up with the ladies.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. That one sticks out to me. Like I feel like I was really immersed in it in that part, I feel.
Locked in at that point.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I think even the journey going back to the Citadel even more so, I think this time around. I really liked the old ladies kind of fighting with them as well, like with the guns and stuff like that. They're like shooting people on their vehicles and stuff like that, like getting into it, like joining their crew. I thought that was really cool. And then basically like that whole scene I really enjoyed too, where Nux gets on the front of the car and he's spitting fuel into the intake. Like he's like, that part was sick. And then Max has to go on there because Nux is like,
I love that scene.
Yeah, he's like tired and he can't do it anymore. And like fucking Max, like I love the fact that people are just like walking on top of cars and like you know what I mean? It's just so cool. I don't know. I love that shit when he's like spitting the fuel in and the fire is going off, and then that the Rectus or whatever the fuck it is, that big beast guy.
Rictus Erectus.
Yeah. They all have funny names too, which they highlight even more so in Furiosa. There's a guy when he rips the fucking exhaust or whatever, the intake or whatever off the fucking car, like that was awesome too. Yeah, there's some good stuff.
I lost a baby brother.
Yeah. Mediocre.
I lost a baby brother.
No,
ass character. He was just so stupid for the whole movie.
The way they bark at each other is hilarious. Yeah, no, that's why that Nux too. When he like sprays the can, that's the way they started. He's like, "What a lovely day!" Like he's going crazy driving. I love that shit.
Oh, that scene was excellent.
Yeah,
the tornadoes and shit.
Yeah,
and like the cars are blowing up in the air, and that was. Oh my
god,
God,
that was the sandstorms, right? Like that makes the glass and everything. It actually makes glass in those sandstorms when it's that hot, dude. Just like it's just like lightning. It's crazy, man. I mean, I don't know if it's possible on this fucking planet, but I mean, yeah, it's a realistic thing. I mean,
that's another bit that stuck out to me is when he's driving the fucking war rig and the engine block catches on fire and she drops the front to blow the sand over the top. That was a really great shot.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. Anything else?
Too, on how to put the fucking engine out. That was really quick thinking, man. Like,
yeah.
I was wondering what that scoop was there the whole fucking time for.
Yeah.
There's things that have a lot of purpose in this world in the Wastelands, and then there's other things like that have like no meaning. It's just weird shit. Like there's a guy in the third movie, the Thunderdome one, where there's a dude and on his attire is on the back of him.
Master Blaster.
Yeah, he has a stick and there's like a mannequin head on the stick. And you're like, why does this guy have this on his back? It's just like part of his like get up. Like, is that his name? Master Blaster? I'll bring it up. Hold on. I'll put a picture. Anything else though?
With the little boy, like the little man is on top of the big man.
Oh, not that guy. No, I know who you're talking about. There's always little people in these movies, like there is. And
what about that little guy in the seat that was like looking through the telescope in Fury Road, like that little bearded.
I want to see.
It's just great. This is great. That's just great detail and just great like imagination. You know.
I don't know why JT using his mic as a fucking telescope.
There he is. Here, it's this guy.
That was fucking funny.
He kind of looked like JT.
Dude,
that's Master Blaster.
Master Blaster. Look at him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this is the little man on top of the big guy. and
Well,
they're
who are you
fighting in the
talking about,
Thunderdome.
Nico?
I don't know what his name is. There's a guy in that same movie that he just has a stick that like hangs out like on his back, and there's a mannequin head on the stick, so it looks like there's a head always constantly behind his head, and they don't. It's just like, okay, that's a thing. Like they don't explain like why is this guy dressed like that. That's what I mean. Like shit like that. I love it. Like in these movies, it's just creative and fun. Like just weird shit.
Yeah, absolutely. What about those guys that were on the sticks and they're
Yeah.
like lowering themselves?
That was
That
sick.
was sick.
Throwing nades.
was
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Like,
nuts.
yeah,
Honestly, though, I gotta say, hottest take of the show.
There's so many creative ways you could just blow up cars.
Right. But I gotta say, though, Julie, you win. Hottest take of the show. Hated the guitar guy. I would never have fucking thought. Like, I
Hated him.
never heard anybody hate on that guitar fucking guy in this movie.
Hated the Power Ranger playing the guitar.
Can I ask you a question? The guy that was listening to the baby.
My vote for hottest take.
Go ahead, Jay. What are you saying?
My
Where did I
vote for
see him?
hottest take is when Nico said Spotlight was a good movie.
It is a good fucking movie.
JT was gone for that.
Yeah. What were you
Would
gonna
you
That's
say
a hot
the guy
take.
that was listening? The guy that was listening to the baby with his cow horn.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where did I see
He's
him?
like, it's gone quiet in there, and I was like, how the fuck
Oh,
would
yeah.
you know? You're definitely a doctor, bro.
No, but where did I see him before? Was
It's
it like Sons of Anarchy or
Swirling the
something?
umbilical cord.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a fucking weird scene.
He's in the Furiosa as well. Actually, he's like their doctor essentially. Like
He was
he's
like, he was perfect, and he's like throwing the
Yeah.
body aside. I'm like, what the fuck?
like, did you hear that? A perfectly good baby brother.
He just yeets the baby after, and I'm like, whoa.
All right. So we got to start bringing it home, though. Any other comments on this movie, guys? Because we're trying to keep these shorter, as you can remember. This is a great discussion, though. But any last comments on this movie? And then I'm going to give you my power rankings of the Mad Max films. Go ahead. Anything else? No?
I just want to know who that guy was. Where I seen him in other films, man.
I'll look up.
We'll have to look him up, dude.
All right. Here's my power rankings for the Mad Max films, and I've watched them all within this past week. Okay. Max, I think you're the only other one that's seen them all here. So if you have an opinion here, let me know here after I do my power rankings here. Okay. Coming in at number 5, there's the my least favorite. Absolutely got to be Mad Max 3, Thunderdome. That one's terrible, fucking terrible, and I blame it. I chalk it up to like a sense of, I don't know if he was on a lot of coke because it's the mid 80s. Like you said, I think they kind of bought into a lot of like the stunt casting. Having Tina Turner as the bad guy in the movie is kind of weird. You know, also on the soundtrack having Tina Turner. I mean, listen, no offense to Tina Turner, rest in peace. She died last year. Great, but this movie is. Yeah, we didn't need Tina Turner in this film.
How dare you? How dare you?
Yeah, well, listen.
Beyond the Thunderdome, terrible movie, but Spotlight, that's a good one.
It is. Beyond the Thunderdome is terrible.
No, it's not. Stop.
It is.
Stop.
It's bad. It's bad.
It's an excellent film.
There's a whole fucking corny ass scene in it where I'm like, oh, so there's humor in this one out of nowhere. Like in the third film, they wanted to do some funny stuff. It's like, again, it's like a Spielberg thing that like it's like you would see like in in an Indiana Jones movie. He goes to like he goes to the place where the Thunderdome there. He goes there or wherever that woman Tina Turner set up in the city. And they're like, oh, you're going to have to leave your weapons here at the door. And he like unloads like 50 weapons from his pockets. He's like, it was just like, come on.
Sick.
Yeah, no,
Bro,
it was corny. Get the fuck out of here.
God.
Yeah. Okay. It completely different tone. Completely different tone. I will say that. Like that's the major issue.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's like I appreciate that he tried something different, but it's just such a far departure from the other films.
Every single movie, he did something different.
That's what's so interesting of him revisiting this 30 years later. Yeah, no, I'll give him up for that, but it was terrible. Number 4, And I could see this moving up in my
Okay.
ranking upon revisiting it, but since it was my first time watching it, and like I said, it was so bare bones. I got to put Mad Max, the first movie, coming in at number 4 for me in the power rankings here. But I could see it moving up possibly upon a revisit on that one. It's my first time watching that one.
Mhm.
Then coming in at number 3, which I could also see coming in at number 2, but because I was hyped up for this discussion and I'm coming hot off the heels of just having watched it, I'm going to put Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, as number 3. Okay, but I think, again, a year from now, if I were to rewatch it, it could go up to the number 2 spot. And Furiosa, which is coming in at number 2 for me, Mad Max Saga is going to come in at number 2. And then, of course, Fury Road, Mad Max Fury Road, the movie we talked about today, is my favorite of all the Mad Max films. And so there you go. Those are my power rankings. Do you disagree there, Max? Where would you put them?
My list wouldn't be exactly the same, although it'd be similar. Beyond the Thunderdome, I'd probably put at 5. Like,
you have to.
I like they're all great. They're all great. I love them all. But if there is one that is,
it's still the worst out of. If you had to compare it, if you like it, that's cool.
It is iconic in its own right. And you were talking about all these, like, what Mad Max inspired and stuff. Specifically, Beyond Thunderdome inspired the. You're gonna appreciate this. It inspired the Tupac California Love video.
Yes, I know that.
Dr. Dre and Tupac, the California. Yeah. Did you mention that earlier already?
No, that's one I didn't mention.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So that I love it. I love the concept of the Beyond the Thunderdome, like the death cage or whatever. And so I love it. And him trying to get the airplane for the kids to fly to their wherever they're trying to fly to.
Yeah,
so I like that one.
Spielberg movie.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, Spotlight. They lied. Go back to your fucking Mark Ruffalo.
Great overacting in that movie. Go ahead. What's next? What's coming in at number 4?
So that the 4, even though I like it too, I would also put the first Mad Max. Where my list differs between yours is I'd probably put Furiosa 3.
Right.
Although I will say Furiosa probably has one action sequence in particular that's better than any action sequence in Fury Road. Like, I actually think there's one sequence in Furiosa that tops Fury Road to me. But I still have it overall as 3, and then I'd have Road Warrior 2, and then Fury Road number 1.
Yeah, I actually, you're pretty much
just the 2 and the 3 switch.
And I said I would probably eventually do that, put number 2 as number 2, but I think I'm just riding off the high of just having watched it yesterday and then talking about Fury Road today, that I'm gonna give Furiosa the bump. I really fucking like Chris Hemsworth in that movie too. I want to make that. It was an excellent. He was really good in this movie. I think it's an interesting for a character.
Hemsworth.
He's Thor.
Yeah, no shit. I said, who doesn't like a Hemsworth?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought you said, who's Chris Hemsworth?
That's what I heard too. Yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna get to the part of the show where we plan on doing recommendations. If you guys like this movie, maybe check out this other movie. Like, what movie to pair this with? And going back to what Julie said early on in the episode, I was gonna suggest Dune 1 and 2 to pair with the any of the Mad Max movies, because, like you said, you're in the wastelands. There is that element to the first 2 Dune movies so far of him being in like the desert and stuff like that, and a lot of it. And while they're 2 different completely stories, I think like the world building aspect of it. There is a lot of interesting aspects to those films that I think if you like Mad Max that you would appreciate in Dune as well. So that's what I put. And then I also put Mad Max 2. If you're going to see one movie before you're going to see this one, I think that captures the best part about Mad Max, the older films. With this movie, I would say Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior. If you watch that, I think you can go straight to watching this movie. You don't have to watch the other ones, but like Max mentioned earlier, if you do want to have a greater appreciation about maybe some of the ideas throughout each film that he kind of brought to this 30 years later, you can watch that movie, but you don't have to. But I think the second one's probably the closest one I would recommend to watch with this film, along with Dune. How about you, Julie? What'd you put as a recommendation along with this movie? Anything off the top of your head, or did you have something for us?
I would have said the same thing. As like Dune. It feels like kind of the same sort of like base setting of like, they're in a famine, they're in whatever, they're in like a water war, and like that would have been the only thing that I would have said, that like it just feels like it's the same sort of genre of like apocalyptic like what's it called? Like resource war type shit. Like that's kind of the only thing that I would think.
Okay. Max, what recommendations do you have to have with this movie? If you like this, maybe check out what?
Pair this with a nice Tim Hortons and a marijuana joint.
That dude you're thinking of is in Fargo, JT.
That's it.
Yeah.
So that's what JT would pair with this. No other movies.
You know what, man? This is any post-apocalyptic, any sort of setting when it comes to something like that. And
There's
really,
a lot.
it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a sand setting, like you guys are saying. It just has to be more of an action sequence and maybe of a I don't know, something along the lines of fighting for resources, right? Stuff like that. I'm not saying that there doesn't have to be
Which is all those things, right? It is, yeah, for sure.
But Dune
Yeah.
is not like crazy action packed like this is too. So it does feel like feels like a bit of a mismatch.
No.
The only thing that Dune has that these movies don't have is
think
there
so.
is like a political aspect to it as well.
Yeah.
Which this movie lacks. Well, there is a hierarchy, there is clans and stuff like that, but it's not like Dune's,
But you know what? Casting Christopher Walken is just as much of a fucking goof move as the guitarist guy. So it's a pretty fucking
never insult
cool match.
Christopher Walken on this show.
Christopher Walken is such an unserious cast.
I'm really
For that
disliking your takes today.
I'm our wild card, bro.
make sure to fucking pick a fucking Christopher
No,
Walken.
I actually I
What?
agree with Julie. Like when I first saw Christopher Walken in Dune, it definitely stuck out.
He's
Like,
not
after,
acting. He's just
like
Christopher
watching the
Walken.
movie again. I didn't mind it as much. Christopher Walken in there.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's not miscast, but I'll take Christopher Walken whenever I can get Christopher Walken. You want to put Christopher Walken in fucking, I don't know, like whatever. I just put him in something. I'll watch it.
As long as he's not Walking Dead,
Oh man,
which will be
he's
soon.
such a sore thumb. He just can't play anything except Christopher Walken.
Max, what would you suggest with this movie? You're lagging a bit on your end, but if you ever come through, buddy, let us know.
I thought it was me.
It was earlier. You guys keep switching back and forth. All right, Max, hit us with the recommendation with this if you have
Mad
it.
Max films. Obviously, I would suggest Crank, because I think just like Fury
Crank?
Road, how Fury Road is just like a pure
Non-stop.
adrenaline ride from
Yeah.
start to end. I think Crank is also a similar vibe. It's just from the very
Crank.
first seconds of the
I
movie,
like Crank.
the action
Yeah.
starts and it doesn't stop until the end, and that's
The
how I
Jason
kind
Statham.
of see Fury Road.
The Jason Statham movies, right? Yeah.
That is an
Yeah.
interesting fucking pairing.
I like it. I like Crank.
Yeah, and maybe also one more. I think Pacific Rim as well, because that's another film. The first one, because that's
Yeah,
another one
Guillermo del
by
Toro.
another visionary filmmaker, Guillermo.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's another visionary filmmaker like George Miller, where there's this big world and there's these details. There's these wacky characters, and there's also like a hero and a heroine at the center of the action, and it's just,
And
you could just appreciate it just for the action and all the other world.
Yeah.
It is.
And just like George Miller being Australian, like Guillermo
So,
del
yeah.
Toro is also not an American director either. So it's kind of interesting in that aspect too, right? Like he's from somewhere
Exactly.
else. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And
that's
for
cool.
G, we'll put heavy metal out there because the guitarists in those too.
You'd think that, the heavy metal appreciator that I am, that I would have been more impressed, but
All right. And then finally, before we give Julie's pick for the next episode of Late Night at the Movies, now that we're in full swing with the bi-weekly show, this other category we did want to bring to the show is any recommendations of things you've been watching lately. And I'll start off within the last 2 weeks, a new movie that I've never watched that I would recommend checking out. From frequent collaborators. I think they've done like 4 or 5 movies together. Me and Max have talked about their collaborations before, but I've never seen this one. And that's the movie Deja Vu by Tony Scott with Denzel Washington. I actually quite liked this movie. It's a weird concept. It's really out there. I feel like it's something that Christopher Nolan would have been interested in doing because of there's like some time aspects to the movie, but then they're also trying to combine it with like I don't know, like he's trying to investigate like a case, like a murder before it actually happens. And somehow, I don't want to spoil it. Just watch it. It has time travel elements and it's starring Denzel Washington, which again is a stretch even I feel like for Denzel Washington to be in this type of movie. It felt like 2 movies in one, and it's a very different movie I think for Tony Scott as well. But he did like 4 or 5 movies with Denzel Washington. I quite like that one. I watched that for the first time a couple weeks ago, and then some things I've been rewatching lately that I would highly recommend. No particular order here. I rewatched The Nice Guys, which I think is just an excellent fucking movie. If you've ever seen that, that's really, really fucking funny, that movie. And Shane Black, the director, he also did an earlier movie that's very similar in tone to this movie with what's his name, Iron Man there,
Robert Downey Jr. Kiss Bang Bang.
Kiss Bang Bang, yeah, which I also rewatched recently. I own that movie. That's a really good movie too. They're both like movie. Yeah, they're both again like noir detective kind of type of comedies essentially.
What movie don't you own?
I have been trying to get a lot more in the collection lately, and I also rewatched. I just love this. I think it's a great rewatchable film, Moneyball with Brad Pitt.
Oh,
I love that movie. I think it's a great movie. And Jonah Hill. So yeah, that's about how they like learn how to like follow stats in baseball and pick teams that way.
Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah,
they develop teams that way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. How about you, Jay? Anything you've been watching movie wise the last couple of weeks that you want to recommend? If not, just pass it along.
Yeah, obviously I'm gonna pass that along. You know me, bro. When it comes to movies, unless I gotta watch them, I'm not checking it out yet. Actually, I mean, I've watched those. I mean, no, nothing really. Nothing in that's from this year at least, or anything that I've even seen. No,
okay.
It's just...
Max.
You know what's so funny? Like this year, I haven't actually been watching a lot of movies. Besides like the big releases, like that I'd go to the theaters with my friends. But for some odd reason, this past weekend I actually saw like a couple of movies. I don't know if I'd recommend any of them. There were some good ones. I saw The Fall Guy with Ryan Gosling, like that new Ryan Gosling movie where he's like a stuntman and stuff. Did you see it, Nico?
Yeah, I didn't watch
there was some good.
I didn't watch it in theater, so I don't know if that makes a difference maybe for the experience, but I did watch it at home, but it was okay. It was like
I watched it at home too.
Yeah.
I watched it at home too, and it was okay. It was kind of funny. I really liked the garbage truck sequence. I thought that was very well action sequence.
You know what I will say about it though, very quickly, is that we're talking about the stunt coordination in this film. It really does it gives the nod to stuntmen. Like that's what I will say about that movie, because even at the end of the movie, they show a bunch of scenes of stuntmen like working on the movie, and like just it gives you. It's nice to see the appreciation for the stuntmen that do stuff, and that's why this movie is was made, I think. But of course, it's starring Ryan Gosling, but who doesn't really do that many stunts. But you know, it's if they put Tom Cruise in it, then you know what I mean. It would make a little bit more sense.
Yeah, it's so funny you said that. I actually have a little bit of a conspiracy theory about that movie. I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but I think that movie is like an entire like sneak diss. I think that whole movie is a diss towards Tom Cruise, like subliminally, like a hip hop diss, like because they mention him a lot, and then they also talk about how like actors who claim that the actors who claim they do their stunts but don't actually do their stunts, and like they're also referencing fake technology and shit. And I'm like, also the main actor that Ryan Gosling stunts for is named Tom in
Yeah,
the movie.
yeah.
Tom Ryder. So I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, is this like a Tom Cruise like jab or like is
Well,
this
that's
a
what
jab at
everyone-
Tom Cruise? This whole thing.
That's what everyone thinks of him nowadays, right? So I get it. Like I get why they would do that, right? So, anyways, what else?
Yeah, it's
Anything
like
else?
it was like a Kendrick thing, you know. And then I saw Hitman, the new Richard
how was that?
Linklater movie. It was decent. It was good. It was funny. It was funny. Had good acting.
It's on Netflix now.
I don't think I'd ever watch it again though. But
Okay.
yeah, it was Netflix. It's kind of like one of those movies you'll probably
Yeah, not
watch once,
not
and then,
rewatchable.
you know,
One time,
but it was good. You enjoy it, you know, for what
Right.
it is.
Okay. And finally, Julie, anything that
Not
you
rewatchable. No, I don't. Nah, I don't know.
and then give us your pick after that, Julie, as well. But for the next episode, but anything you want to recommend that you've been watching?
The only thing that was new that I saw recently was The Watchers, and I do not recommend it. It was not good.
Oh, the horror movie. No good?
yeah.
Okay.
I don't think.
Oh,
I mean, it was too predictable. I mean, it's a Shyamalan movie. It's kind of just like destined to like
Fail.
not destined to fail, but it's just like you've seen how they write, so it's like okay, like you can kind of predict all of the twists and shit.
What a twist!
Yeah.
Is,
Um.
is that
It
the
just,
one?
like-
Is that the one his daughter directed?
Yeah.
That's not
It's
him.
like-
That's his daughter, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but he produced it. He was like involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fuck him too, right?
It's just I don't know. It's like it was just too fucking predictable as a movie. But also like
Fuck that nepo
Yeah.
baby.
all had like all the characters were half finished and like I didn't give a shit about anybody in the movie. It was really I don't know, didn't do it for me. Felt like a waste of a fucking movie ticket to be honest. But
Ooh.
that was the only thing that I saw that was new recently. Everything else is just shit that I've been rewatching. I went on like a fucking marathon for
Yeah, you
like
can mention things you've rewatched, just like things you've been watching lately that you would suggest checking out, like that you like.
it's just stuff that I enjoyed. Like I rewatched all the fucking the Dark Knight series the other day, like just because.
Fire. Fire.
We rewatched Baby Driver the other day because I really like how the fucking music plays
Fire.
into that movie.
Oh my god! Don't do this! Don't do this, Nico. It's a Baby Driver. Coming
we
from
watched
the guy who loves. Oh no, I'm not gonna.
we
I'm not
watched
gonna mention Spotlight.
Guess what my next pick is? Spotlight.
Oh god!
we watched
Please do not
Burn After Reading. I don't know if
put me
you've seen
through
that.
Yeah, I actually rewatched that a couple weeks ago. It's funny you mentioned that. I hadn't
Yeah.
seen that in some time. Yeah.
The fucking ending of that movie is hilarious. I love J.K. Simmons at the end of that movie.
He's like, so
Nice.
everything.
He's like, what did we learn? I don't fucking know.
He's like, oh, he's dead. All right. Yeah. He's like, okay, so we good here? All right.
All right, burn the body. Like, yeah, that was such a funny ending. I rewatched Twister because I want to see the new one because
Twisters. Yeah.
yeah, I want to see the new one. It's probably gonna be shit, but I like the old movie. We
Len Powell is
rewatched
killing it right now.
Inglorious Bastards and The Social Network the other day. I just rewatched all of Breaking Bad, so we watched El Camino. That's kind of I was just on like a rewatch or binge for like a week,
Yeah.
but
Is
yeah.
anybody interested in the new Bad Boys movie?
no.
You know what's funny?
I had a choice to see that instead of The
No?
Watchers, and I was like, no.
I'll watch it, but I didn't watch the last one. I forgot.
Neither did I.
Yeah.
It wasn't
I watched the
good.
first three. I
The
know.
last one
but-
isn't good, but I heard good things about this one.
Same. Yeah. The last one
Yeah.
too. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't that come out at like the start of the pandemic? Like I think it was wildly overlooked because of that too.
I don't
It
know.
came- It came out no. It came out right before the pandemic. Like it came out in
Okay.
January. So it
Okay.
actually ended up being the highest
2020.
grossing movie of 2020. Even though it would
1
have
month.
no chance of it if there wasn't
Because the
even
theaters
if there
were
was
fucking
no
open.
pandemic. Exactly.
It's funny though. You're right. Like I did realize I hadn't watched it when I seen this one, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll check this one out. And then I was
You
like,
know
oh,
what's so
I didn't see
funny?
the last
people shit on Michael Bay, but then he didn't make that one, and it's not as good as the ones he made. So it's just like, yeah, I mean, like, like you kind of need Michael Bay,
Mhm. All right, Julie, hit us with it. What's the next pick?
So here's the thing: I get two, and I have a toss-up.
Oh,
I
nice.
have a choice to make, but you're gonna like them both. But I think we can decide as a group. Is that okay? So
We're
they're
thinking
both,
2 out of 2.
huh?
What if we have the 2 out of 2 and we tie and it's a vote? Then what?
I'm not gonna vote because I like them both. So we won't have a tie because I'm not gonna vote.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I like them both, and I don't care which one we choose. So, they're both film adaptations of Alan Moore comics.
Oh.
Oh,
So,
Okay. Well, yeah. Speaking of fucking Snyder, so
I haven't watched any of those.
I know.
I've seen Watchmen. I've never seen V for Vendetta, so I'm gonna pick that.
All right.
Go ahead, Max.
I'm gonna pick V for Vendetta as well. I've seen V for Vendetta, but I'm picking V for Vendetta because I refuse to watch Watchmen.
Why?
Like, I refuse to have that comic book ruined for me on the big screen. Like, I refuse to watch an
Have
adaptation.
you never seen it?
Like, that's one of those movies I've never seen Watchmen, but I've read the novel like 3-4 times, and it's
It's
brilliant.
really good.
And I don't want that ruined for me.
So it's not bad, I would say, but it's one of those cases where you're right. It's an
You
abomination.
can never
compared to
adapt that. Like, you can never
material.
make it better. You can never make it better than what Alan Moore did in that.
Well, that's why he
fucking
doesn't
book.
endorse it.
Like,
He doesn't.
you can't.
He didn't even when it was coming out. He didn't even want to be associated with the film. He
Yeah.
was like,
Both of these are in my top
I know
5
it's kind of
movies.
hypocritical because really.
Yep.
wow.
I've seen V for Vendetta, and you know what's so funny? Nico also gave me a copy too of V for Vendetta. I haven't read it
Yeah.
yet.
Neither, and I haven't read
Have you
mine
read
yet
it? Have
either.
you
So
read
I'm
it?
gonna read it.
Oh,
Nope,
yeah.
I'm gonna read it and then
Nice.
rewatch the movie, and that's
Nice,
my
nice,
plan.
Nice.
JT, you don't get a vote. We're watching V for Vendetta.
Well, you know what? I think why is Max just not wanting to watch Watchmen because it's a Snyder film or something?
Yeah.
No.
And he thinks the
because
source material is
I've
so great. Yeah. You don't want to
like
spoil.
I've read Watchmen so many times, and I'm just like, there's no way a movie can do what I've just read.
And it
You know
doesn't.
what I mean?
And it doesn't, to be fair, but there's some
yeah,
fun
so-
casting in it. There's some good
It's
casting.
kind of
in it.
hypocritical.
Yeah.
It's kind of hypocritical because I haven't read V for Vendetta, and I don't know, like, you know what I mean? It's also Alan Moore. But Watchmen, is that his best work? I think that's probably his best. I haven't read everything Alan Moore has done, but to me,
See, and
that's
I'm
like
on
the
the-
greatest thing. That might be the.
I'm on the other side of it. I haven't read either of
I
them,
was
but
gonna
I've
say-
seen both the movies.
You've never read Watchmen? Whoa.
I bought this on the weekend.
Oh.
Watchmen's great.
I think Watchmen, and I'm not as experienced of a reader as Nico is, obviously, in this field, but I think Watchmen is the best comic I've read, and including manga, including manga and comics of anything.
All right.
Watchmen is like the best thing I've ever read.
We got to
That's
wrap
like
this up.
top of the top.
We got to wrap this up, so I'm going to keep this short because I can go on for a long time, of course, about this. But I will say the reason it's so important is because it basically set the bar for all postmodern comic book storytelling, like the dark and gritty kind of aspect to Batman and Dark Knight Returns that happened the same year as Watchmen. Like, that kind of changed the tone of comics aren't for kids anymore. This whole adult aspect of comics moving forward forever since then. So yeah, it's very important even in that aspect that it was interesting, intelligent material. One of the first times that people have said for comic books, like, you're right. It's so well written, and like it influenced, again, so much that came after that. It's just very important, even in that aspect, even if you don't like the story or whatever else that the comic does. Yeah, it's one of the most, if not the most important comic book ever written because of that. Like, right? Like it really changed comics. It changed comics like after it came. Yeah.
And its source material is probably more important today than it was back then.
A lot of
it
the
probably
themes,
is like more relevant to this day.
Both of these books, both of the themes in these books are still relevant today. That's what's fucking very interesting. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to watching V for Vendetta. I've never seen it.
This is why I was like, I think I have two like pretty good fucking picks here that we'll have like a lot to talk about, like especially between you two.
Nice.
Yeah. All right.
Nice.
So there you go, guys. Welcome back to Late Night at the Movies. We're back, and again, if there were any audio issues or lagging issues here today, we'll see what the finished product looks like on the back end. But our apologies. We'll work on that for the next time. But this is a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll have the full group again back with us next episode. All right, guys. Later, everyone. Where's the music?